I'm going to intro Shelton Mercer to come up for a talk entitled Tip the Scale, Leveraging Strategic Partnerships and Investments for Massive Growth. Shelton Mercer is an award-winning executive, startup entrepreneur, and philanthropist with a myriad of career milestones in global business, technology, and social impact. Shelton is also co-founder and president of big data media technology startup Audigent. Before Audigent, Shelton was CEO and co-founder of Mashable Award winner TwitChange, which has partnered with hundreds of celebrities and brands to raise millions for charity, cause, and crisis via social media. Shelton has also created technology-fueled audience strategies that have delivered chart toppers for Disney, the Jonas Brothers, Warner Brothers, NBC, Sony, Walden, participant, and dozens of entertainment brands. With that, I'd like you to welcome Shelton up to this stage. Do it, baby. As we rock through our day. Good luck, have fun.
Thank you, man.
You got it.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, good morning. Glad to be here. I think we've got a clicker here. Okay.
Note to self, give clicker to the next person. Is it not working?
There we go.
Got it?
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so good morning. I'm glad to be here in my hometown, Philadelphia. Appreciate, Ran, your talk there. I'm going to follow up with a little bit of some stories, and I think that what's apropos for this morning is I want to share some of the anecdotal and inspiration around what scale means in my world. And so, we certainly got some great tips on growth and scale. What I've been able to do and what I value in growing companies is to be able to find the right partners very early that help us to grow our business. And sometimes that's not venture capital partners. Strategic partnerships are key to growing a company and to growing it really well. You heard some of the bio stuff there. I was asking Rick, who's that guy they're talking about? But I am Philadelphia born and raised, proud graduate Central High School here in Philadelphia. And got some Central High folks in the house. I have a role at 1776 Benjamin's Desk, which some of you know is one of our owners and heading our innovation strategy. What I've also been doing, though, is building startups both on the West Coast and here back on the East Coast. And I want to talk a little bit about my journey and how that can help, hopefully, some of you understand how you can build your company. One of the first things that we've noticed about some of these companies here, Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, they are all big, massive companies. I mean, to call them startups right now sounds a little bit crazy when they've got many hundreds of billions of dollars, and Facebook being a public company in that regard. At some point, the founders of these companies had to make a decision whether to stick with the tried and true business methods of growth. Steady growth is what a lot of business leaders will tell you to do. Or is there a way for us to scale? And Rand touched on what scale is and how important that is for business. All of these companies realized very early on in their trajectory, and some of them were even built with scale in mind. And so we need to talk about what scale is, and I'm going to get to that, but I want to make sure that we're not getting ourselves with these kind of rose-colored glasses that every company is going to be the next Facebook for and the next Uber for. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you are telling me you're going to be the next somebody else, then I'm going to tell you, well, somebody already did that, so you should probably have a different idea. So growth, though, is very important. I want to pretend that growth is something that we should throw out the window. But let's define what growth is. Growth is your ability to incrementally increase your revenue as you increase the resources that you throw at it. That's pretty much the standard business definition. Every business needs to grow. But what you find a lot of times is that businesses grow at a rate, and you've got to throw as many resources to keep up with that pace of growth. So let me give you an example. You got $100,000 in revenue your first 6 months in growing your business, and you decide, we want to hit $1 million in the next 12 months. You got 5 employees. a lot of times you're going to have to increase your resources by 5 to 7 to 10 times as much to reach 10x of revenue. That's growth, and that's good. So you add more customers, you can hire more people. You add more revenue, you can pay people more money, give people raises. It's a great way to build your company. And that's the way that companies do grow. And growth is good, to coin a phrase. Now, as you're whiteboarding and sketching out and you're doing all of your Gantt charts and all of your, cap tables and figuring out ways that you're going to grow your revenue, and that guy, he's doing a lot of, looks like hieroglyphics and calculus to try to figure out how do we grow our business at a rate that's going to allow us to reach those lofty heights that we say we want to get to. And I think that's always good. The difference between growth and scale is defined this way. So scale is defined as the ability to increase revenue while only incrementally increasing your resources. So it's almost an inverse. So it says, well, we've got $100,000 in revenue right now. We want to get to $1 million. But we actually acquired a really big customer that allows us to grow our revenue, again, not spending a bunch of our resources. We don't have to hire 10 more people. We can hire 2 more people and increase our revenue by 10x. That's really what scale is. And so scale is this place where it sounds mystical for a lot of people. And it sounds like it's only some of the big companies. If you raise a whole lot of investment money, that's a way. If you got the right venture capitalists, then you can scale your company. I'll agree with Rand. Raising a whole bunch of money is not scale. What scale is, can you actually improve and increase your market position, your market share, and by doing that, grow revenues that have your company be able to grow at a rate that's going to make it significant and disrupt this industry, to use one of those wonderful buzzwords. I love people who say the word disrupt, and you got 2 customers. You're not disrupting much, but your sleep patterns, usually. So it's fine for me to say all of this with, a little bit of energy and perhaps some even insight. But I decided I'd step on the scale for us this morning, if that's okay. Now, I had a lot of food last night, so my weight might be a little bit up here. But I want to tell some scale stories, I call them. I call them stories of scale. And so it's so funny. I started my career actually as a management consultant at Lucent Technologies. And I have a 2 global giants now. I did not realize when we put this together that GE was going to have bad news this morning, which some of you saw. They're doing massive layoffs. But at the time that I worked with Lucent, GE was one of my biggest customers, and we were testing this new technology that was I'm talking about the mid-90s now. This is before text messaging and email was something that everybody wasn't using. We were using voice messaging, and we figured out we could transfer voice messages over the digital network. And Jack Welch, Mr. CEO, says, I want everybody at GE to hear my voice 1 time a week. Can you guys do that? And we said, we think we might be able to do that. And we have this product that we've been trying to get out to market, and GE said, well, let's use it and we'll help you develop it and we'll deploy that. And within 60 days, we had a contract to do a $50 million project with them that was 150,000 users, 600 sites. Now, I did not sleep for about 9 to 12 months, but we were able to take that product to market and sell it at a place that we couldn't do that if we didn't have a partner like GE. So at an early age, I learned what scale was, and that was something that we translated into some of the other companies that I've been able to be a part of. So TwitChange is a company co-founded in 2010, social media pioneer. We were able to capture the essence and the energy of when Twitter was just a little baby, and it was a big deal for celebrities to like tweet you or follow you on Twitter. Anybody remember those days? Now, you got Twitter followers. Some of you got blue check marks here. We got some real famous folks who are blowing Twitter up. Back then, we decided we wanted to raise money for Haiti earthquake relief, and Eva Longoria and Ryan Seacrest and Kim Kardashian all said, yeah, we'll join in on a campaign with you. And we realized, you know what? we got 5 celebrities. We can put this idea out there, but we need to get this to market right away. How do we do that? We want to do auctions. We didn't have an auction engine, so we got the biggest auction house in the digital landscape with eBay. And here's the deal, it was a partnership where they didn't invest money into our company. They didn't write us a big check, but they leveraged their technology and their expertise and their market position and let us ride piggyback. And so the weight of the scale to have a partner like an eBay to take your young company and say, we love what you're doing, let's partner together and do it together. We were able to raise millions. We raised over $25 million for all sorts of causes, and that brought in additional corporate partners and brand partners. We took over the Times Square American Eagle Outfitters billboard for Super Bowl weekend and worked with the NFL and the Oscars and the Grammys. And it really started with a very key interaction with eBay. It's not just in the tech world. I was speaking of just philanthropy. I was board chair and interim COO for Stop Hunger Now, based in Raleigh, North Carolina. We met the folks at Salesforce, and they just were amazing. They decided that we love that you're packaging meals to send them overseas. We want to do this for all of our employees. And by the way, I said to them, what if we did something even more spectacular? They decided they were going to do our meal packaging events for all of their Dreamforce conferences. And so now you go to Dreamforce and you do your kind of give back, and you're packaging meals that might go to Haiti or to Malaysia or to any trouble spots in the world. And Salesforce then helped build new locations for Stop Hunger Now in Southern California and Northern California and LA, and really helped push the organization to a new trajectory. That's scale. Because what happened is we did not have to put the dollars in to build new facilities. We didn't have to hire 50 people in order to service some of our corporate customers. That brings me to where I am now. A company called Audigent I'm very proud of, and we are probably one of Philadelphia's best kept secrets. We were born here in Philly, invested in by Ben Franklin Technology Partners, and some others. Here's where scale really has helped us. And this is where the partnerships and investments go together. We started this company with an idea that we could create data from activity around some of the most followed and influential people in the world. Those are music artists, athletes, actors, celebrities. And we were able to, early on, be able to get a data partnership with Nielsen, where they able to get historical music data from them. And then, oh, by the way, a guy named Jay-Z that some of you may have heard, and this really unpopular singer named Rihanna decided, yeah, you know what? We'll use your technology as well. And so leveraging all of that together, again, this wasn't money. This was partnerships where we want you using our technology. That was fantastic. We went to Warner Music, and Warner said, you guys got this really great technology here. This is awesome. You know, these folks are using it. They said, you know what? We not only want to use it, but we want to invest in your company. And so they put an investment into the company, led our seed round last year. But more importantly, I'd say equally important, we have the entire roster of Warner Music. So 5,000 artists, thousands of links that are being shared with our technology, and millions and millions, literally over 300 million devices that we fingerprinted in just the last 12 months, and getting copious amounts of data around people's behaviors and monetizing that with advertising. So we've been able to scale a company through a mixture of partnerships and investment. Now, we say all that, and I don't say that to be even braggadocious at all, because the reality is we have to ask ourselves, and there's our good friends from Silicon Valley, is how are we going to scale? And the reality is, if you remember this clip here, he says, how are we going to scale? We're going to die. And I will say this, that if you are going to take on the challenge of working with large strategic partners, it is going to cost you. And so it's not this magical, real easy life that you say, oh, whoa, we get one strategic partner, now we're going to take off and we're going to have the greatest lives, and we're never going to have any issues. In fact, you'll probably work harder, you'll probably work longer, and you'll probably have more restless nights dealing with executives that are going to say, we want you to change everything because it's got to work the way we want it to work. But you're not going to die. And so I want to give you 6 quick tips on how to scale. And I love imagery, and so a lot of these are around imagery, and I want you to get the imagery as we talk about it. The first tip, how you're going to tip the scale, if you're going to find the right partnerships that are for your business, you need to be looking for partners in your verticals that are going to want to do the things that you have, are going to want to take your technology or your ideas and take them to market with them. But you got to build dope stuff, man. You got to. You know, Kanye is a guy who coined that phrase. Dave Chappelle tells a story. He says, you know, I called up Kanye one day. We were trying to do something together, and I called him up, and I said, Kanye, how are we going to do this? He said, man, I'm Kanye West. I build dope shit. You got to have things that are not just solid, but that are kick-ass, that are doing things that nobody else is doing in a way that is super innovative, but it is also, to use a term that we use, that Kanye would say, is it dope enough that it can move the needle for a partner that's bigger than you, that can tip the scale to help you have massive growth in your company? Now that may challenge what you want to do. When we built Audigent initially, we were talking about predictive analytics and doing music data, and they realized, you know what, in order for us to scale this company, we got to do stuff that's going to be able to easily plug in all over the digital landscape and give data that is going to move the needle the way people want. So be like Kanye, build dope things, challenge your assumptions, challenge your code, challenge your product, your service, and make sure that you're not taking it to people before you're ready. Number 2, I heard the term ninja. Ninjas need senseis. You cannot become this person who is going to have all these rock stars and ninjas in your company if you're not willing to put the time in to not just get the best results out of them, but to put the time as a leader, to be a servant, to be able to listen to people's livelihoods and what their goals and dreams are, and to be able to help them see how their role in your company is going to help their personal and professional development. We spend a lot of time in our companies just being with staff and being with our engineers and our sales teams and being with our execs, not just in the sense of planning and strategizing, but also in how can we help you develop as a person. Culture is everything. You heard it before. People who are cancerous, people who are toxic are going to absolutely ruin your company. And so you've got to get rid of that, but you've got to do the mentoring that's necessary as a leader to have these ninjas and these rock stars. That picture's from Japan. Japan actually put out an ad about a year ago recruiting 6 actual ninjas to help with keeping order in one of the prefectures. Number 3, aim for the stars. What do I mean by that? You know, there's what is it, Norman Vincent Peale said, shoot for the moon, you'll hit the stars. Here's the deal. If you're going to have strategic relationships with big companies, with corporations, with other businesses, you need to find the highest level relationship in that company that you can stand, that you know. That's it. That may be the C-suite, it may be an SVP, it may be a senior director, but you start with the highest level of person in the company, somebody who has the ability to make decisions, someone who has the ability to be your champion and your advocate inside that building, inside that company, because you're going to bust your head wide open trying to navigate up the chain. And so your good friend from college, they may be a good way for you to get some intel, but if you want to get a strategic partnership done, you're going to have to seek the highest level relationship. So you say, Shelton, how do I do that? Well, here's what you got to do. You got to press the flesh. You got to go where people are. You got to go to the places where you're going to find and meet executives of these companies. You got to go to conferences. You got to go to New York. You've got to go to the Valley. You've got to go to LA. You got to go to Austin. Now, you don't try to run up your Amex to where you can't stand it. But you could get to New York on a train or a bus for $20 and spend time at exhibit halls of free conferences and just begin to socialize what you're doing. You've got to have relationships in order to have the types of partnerships and secure investments that you hear some of the founders here talking about. I have a good colleague at GE, going back to the beginning. His name is Russell Ashton. I'll call him out. He's a good colleague. I just emailed him last week about something. We've been working together for almost 20 years. I haven't worked with GE in a formal capacity in probably the last 10, but I'm able to hit Russell up. He's now moved his way up to the C-suite, and so we can get quick answers to, do you guys want to do some work together? Because of a relationship. I still go to conferences, and I meet people of every business, every corporation, every enterprise in our vertical, and we start to socialize that way, and we start at the highest relationship so that we have somebody who can then, I'd rather them delegate down than try to manage up to get us into the organization there. Number 5, once you've done all that, you got to trust the process, Philly. Come on. Now, here's the deal. These guys on the right, Mr. Embiid and Mr. Simmons, they are the process. But don't sleep. Steph and Clay were a process as well. The Warriors tanked for years to get draft picks. They drafted Steph, they drafted Clay, they developed them. Steph Curry was called a bust. He was injured his first 2 years, kind of like the guys you see there. And lo and behold, these guys are kissing trophies now. So when you trust the process, that says, listen, we've got relationships, we're build out our dope stuff, we're reaching into these places for partnerships, and now you've got to be careful and not be too excited and not count your chickens before they hatch, and you don't want to become too restless that you miss the opportunity to grow the company. The last one here is you do need to measure progress. And so growth, as I said, is very important, folks. You've got to be able to measure your progress. And progress is going to come from, are you generating revenue? Is the business growing at a rate that is, again, higher than your resources? So is your revenue outstripping the resources that you have to put to it? That's what scale is. But frankly, just being able to have a real growth pattern for your business is important. And so if you're spending all of your time running after this magical unicorn relationship, very likely that you might end up not minding the store and not growing. So with all of that, I want to make sure that you realize that I'm not just here trying to be, everybody's going to be at the podium with Tom Brady. I know that this is the Eagles town, but, we got to put a Tom Brady slide in just because he's just Tom Brady. But as you look at scale, the way that I see this is that you are not going to be able to rely on just the faculties that you have by yourself. If you have big partners, people who can weigh down, have more weight than you, it's going to be scary. Don't get me wrong. I mean, listen. A lot of times I find us, having to push up against some of our strategic partners because some of the decisions that they want us to make are maybe not even advantageous for the way we want the business to go. But other times we've seen that strategic partners have said, yeah, we put money into your company and we've got resources in there, but we want to be absolutely along for the ride to make this be a company that has impact and that has change in the world. And that's where the best relationships come from. And so as you look at scaling the company, I want you to think about ways that you can do that and not be able to rely simply on the faculties, the things that you have in front of you. Yeah, your friends and family round is great. And yeah, the local investment from the local fund is great as well. And maybe you're able to have somebody to introduce you to folks in the Valley or folks in New York, and that's great. But if you've just taken in money, and you're not actually able to grab a market share for yourself, you're going to find that people are going to look at you soon and they're not going to invest in the next round. And they're gonna say, where's my investment growing? And so some of those stories are meant to inspire you. If everybody's gonna have a different trajectory, a different relationship with growing and scaling your business. Those are just my stories. And it's really important for me, being in my hometown, to share some of that and to say, listen, what can we do to help you scale your business? We want you to scale companies that are going to grow and help Philly be big and bold and make an impact in the world, because we've got companies that are scaling. So, again, those tips for scaling, you remember them? They were really easy, right? Number one is build dope stuff. You got to build dope things. Number two is, after you built that stuff, you got to make sure that you are aiming for the stars, reaching the right relationships, getting the right levels of relationship with people. You reach for those stars, you get those folks on your team, they want you to be successful, then you've got to continue to trust that process, and you can measure your progress as you grow. You got to get to where people are. Go to places where some of the leaders in your verticals of your industry are, and meet them and introduce yourself. And don't try to just pitch them. Actually understand what's valuable to them. And I hope you're going to win and you're going to scale your companies the way that you want to do it. So, listen, I appreciate the time for being here today. I think I was told that there may be some Q&A based on this. I don't know if that's true. We can move on.
I think we have till 11. Does anybody have 2 minutes?
Okay. Anybody got a 20-second question? Mr. Nucci.
A lot of your examples were small startup, really big company. How have you, any lessons about protecting yourself from the big guy who can have a lot of leverage over you and not putting you in bad paths or directions or making you do things just because they have, leverage on you? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Build dope stuff. Number one, and I say that not tongue-in-cheek, build things that, frankly, that large corporations and large companies have a real challenge with innovation and moving quickly. So you build dope things and you show the ability that you are agile and can move faster than they can move. And then the other thing is have really great lawyers that protect you. Anybody else? All right. Well, folks, I appreciate your time. You can follow me, Shelton Mercer. Thank you very much.